the Earthshot Prize.
There is no challenge bigger than the battle against climate change.
Where it won't just take our global collective will, it will also take innovation.
Welcome to the Earthshot Prize here in London. Tonight, we're turning the capital and hopefully the world green.
Winning this prize is recognition that we are going in the right direction.
Welcome to Boston and the Earthshot Prize.
The Prince of Wales has awarded his Earthshot Prize.
The prize money, £1 million each, to take their projects further.
This is the greatest crisis that we are facing in our lifetime.
It's my hope the Earthshot legacy will continue to grow, which is why we must choose the path of hope, optimism, and urgency to repair our planet.
Good afternoon, and it's really great to be here with you today. First of all, I just want to give a huge round of applause to GenZero for today. It's been so inspirational. Thank you. This is such an important conversation, and as one of the past speakers just said, we are at a crucial moment in time and in history. And the partnerships that we forge together, such as the one that we have with GenZero and Temasek Trust, are absolutely critical to making change happen. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to close out and be the person that comes between you and a glass of wine. But I want to close with a reflection on the power of human ingenuity and what it's going to take to save the planet. The Earthshot Prize seeks to discover, accelerate, spotlight, and scale solutions to repair and regenerate the planet. And it was set up in 2020 by His Royal Highness Prince William, and the power of ingenuity sits at the very core of our idea. It was human ingenuity that caused us to first look to the skies as the final frontier of exploration. And our prize is inspired by President John F. Kennedy's Moonshot Challenge that galvanized a generation of dreamers to first put a person on the moon. It's difficult now to imagine the audacity of setting that goal, the seemingly impossible, lofty, almost magical thinking that you could go to the moon and come home again safely. But at so many points through history, once bright, motivated, determined humans come together and set an objective, we can achieve the impossible over and over again. So we've now reached one of those inflection points where that same innovation and ingenuity is not just needed, but demanded. The Earthshot Prize was founded those 2.5 years ago with this audacious goal, that we could play a role in helping to repair the damage we've done to our planet over the centuries. Because as we've heard today, we are in a race. We're in a race to reduce emissions by over 40% and to protect 30% of the world's oceans and nature by 2030. That's in 7 years. That's what it took NASA and 450,000 collaborators to get a man to the moon in that challenge all those years ago. We have to do the same. We have to undo decades of man-made actions that have gotten us to this place. Whether it be the Industrial Revolution, which unfolded, as we all know, in the late 18th century, that was a marked turning point for human civilization, and we welcomed and embraced extraordinary innovations and technological advancements at that time. It changed the way we all lived. We harnessed the power of steam engines. We developed mechanized production processes. We built vast transportation networks. We drove farmers into cities and opened the world of travel beyond one's home to millions of people. And those breakthroughs catapulted us all into that era of unprecedented progress and prosperity. It transformed entire industries, but of course, we now know those advancements were so costly for the planet in ways that innovators could never have anticipated. And while we revolutionized farming, we also revolutionized bringing over farming and creating fertilizers that released deadly carbon and methane emissions. Coal that fueled the engines of progress, providing cheap and abundant sources of energy, actually also heated our atmosphere. So now we know it. Now we know these far and true consequences. And now we know we need to change. I am an optimist. I've just given you a story of perhaps unintended consequences and of such system change that we need to change. But I am an optimist, and it is at the heart of the prize's DNA. We are putting a stake in the ground that we can see those failures actually as unprecedented opportunities. It's an opportunity to transform and preserve our world and create new green markets, new green products, and new green services, new industries, and new sources of growth. And like the best of human traits, ingenuity is at its best when it's turned into action, propelled by urgency, resources, community, and opportunity. It's human ingenuity that has already enabled a world where Earthshot Prize winners and finalists are making sustainable packaging from seaweed. They're designing cleaner burning stoves to support the health of women and children in Africa. They're driving commercial scale farming of resilient coral, and they're inventing cutting-edge technologies to reduce air pollution from agricultural waste and turn CO2 from the atmosphere by mineralizing it into rock. Like all innovators, however, they face an uphill battle. You know, the best innovation usually is dismissed by the world at first. Innovators live in a desert, often ignored, sometimes ridiculed, until, of course, their idea goes to scale and it becomes the new normal, and usually at that point, it was everybody else's great idea. So like all innovators, they face huge uphill battles to go from that journey of idea to scale. But our nominees face additional challenges. They come from every corner of the globe with a diversity of experiences and access. They face a lack of understanding of the work they're trying to do, a lack of urgency around them, a lack of patient capital or risk appetite. They lack marketplaces and financial systems that are actually made to incentivize their success rather than incentivize the past. And they lack equitable access to capital, talent, or networks of power. And then to top it all, because we particularly focus on women-led, indigenous-led, global South and East solutions, we have a cohort of innovators that face additional barriers in accessing that capital and support. So we have one goal at the Earthshot Prize. Everything we do is aimed at changing the trajectory of those innovators and their solutions and helping them get on the path to scale as fast as possible. And our prize money, £1 million each for the top solutions, selected and vetted through a rigorous process, is designed to galvanize other funders and supporters. Behind this annual prize, we have built an engine to turn our catalytic funding into a global platform for impact and for speeding solutions to scale. Our cohorts of finalists receive a personalized year-long Earthshot Fellowship program, wrapping them in content, community, support, and advice. And together with our global alliance of partners made up of corporations, foundations, investors, academia, and not-for-profits, we matchmake for scale, unlocking unprecedented access and visibility for our innovators, and importantly, opportunities for our partners to tap into these solutions. This new wave of innovators and their solutions hold our future in their hands. And we see in the thousands of nominations that we receive each year some key trends. Number one, great diverse talent is magnetically drawn to purpose. The talent is opting to choose careers and pathways where their talent is deployed in service of the planet. So if you, as a leader, are not led by purpose, you will no longer access the world's best talent. Number two, trillions in capital is absolutely being funneled towards clean energy technology and emerging technologies, but we need to speed this thing up. And we need to take the friction out of the system to connect vetted solutions to mission-aligned blended capital. And we need a new conversation about patience and risk. Because thirdly, whereas before climate change was seen as future risk, today it is the risk. And this is triggering, as we all know, an exponential acceleration in legislation, regulation, and consumer pressure. So actually, for those of us working on this, the wind is finally in our sails. Economies and politics are transforming. And this is a warning. Those that do not lead will be disrupted and obsoleted. That's why smart leaders are betting on this new wave of innovators. And it's one of the many reasons why we're hosting the Earthshot Prize and an expanded Earthshot Week of convening here in Singapore this November. Because what we see is that countries across Southeast Asia are showcasing to us the opportunity to leapfrog, and that the policy and the financial pathways they're creating will fast-track a pathway to green growth. And what we also see is that while many look to Southeast Asia as ground zero for climate change impacts, we look to the region as a teacher. We look to Southeast Asia for innovative solutions, incredible leadership, and the ability to teach the world how to speed to that new era. Over the last 2 years alone, every 1 in 6 of our portfolio of nominees has come from this region. And we look at the cutting-edge ecosystem of startups right here in Singapore. For example, the ones experimenting with alternatives to meat-based foods, enabled and supported here in Singapore. The pioneering work on thinking about how to exemplify technology, capital, and human ingenuity to solve the toughest environmental problems. We see Singapore as a model and as a gateway into a conversation with Asia. We see examples of green growth unlocking jobs around the region that others need to look to. Now, as everyone here in the room knows, sustainability is no longer a buzzword or a movement. It's quite simple. It's the new license to operate. It's the new standards, the new reporting, the new metrics. It's the new products and services. And it's also the new emergent business model. Now, we've seen this play out before. You know, how many of you here invested in Airbnb when it was at seed? Tom's going to put his hand up on that one. None of us did. None of us actually probably thought that a bed would suddenly become a new asset, or that Airbnb would become a unicorn. Very few people thought second-hand clothes could become a hyper-growth market, now projected to double in the next 5 years to $77 billion. Few predicted the sudden growth of plant-based foods as an alternative and a change in the global eating habits. So the new normal is only ever apparent when viewed in hindsight, unless you're looking beneath the headlines and you're joining up the dots. And our dots are made up of thousands of nominations. And when we join those dots up, what we see is this. It is no longer a stretch of the imagination to believe that the new business models will be born from waste, air, water, carbon, and nature. And now it's just a race to see who gets there first. And the environmental solutions being unlocked and amplified by the Earthshot Prize are the stories of possibility and potential. And we all know innovation is hard. It requires an ecosystem play. It requires coaches, networks, capital, markets to open. It needs the right regulatory and policy landscape. And so my call to action to each of us in this room is to think about how each of us can use every single lever we can to make that ecosystem the most vibrant, exciting, and fast-moving ecosystem ever seen in the world. Whether you're coming in as a leader, an investor, a voter, a philanthropist, a mentor, a teacher, or a learner, each of us has to be an agent of exponential change and impact in this moment in time. Because by the end of this decade, we need to have thousands and thousands of innovators all filling an amazing pipeline of opportunity and potential, competing to be in that future that we need to pull forward. So please partner with us, advocate for policies, invest your money fast, get rid of your patience in order to just invest now, think about different ways of looking at how we can bring the innovations of the future right now into the present. Thank you.